Hello, hello, hello. Today is April 25th, 2025. It's a real treat. We have Norm Winski back with us again. And Norm, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much for having me on, Jeff. I was last on your show on Thursday, April 10th, and now we're going to review what I said and how it all came out. So, the night of the 10th, we had Saturn lining up with the U.S. chart. Anytime we have that, we look at U.S. stocks, T bonds, U.S. dollar. And then we had a 5-point cluster over the weekend of the 11th with Jupiter lining up with Pluto. That's for cocoa, copper, hogs, T-bonds. We had a full moon in the sign of Libra. Anytime we have a full moon or new moon, we look at financials, grain, precious metal, oil, and then because it was in Libra, we look at sugar and wheat. And then reinforcing that, the Libra thing, we had Venus, which is a ruling planet of Libra, turning direct. That's the opposite of retrograde. Venus had been going retrograde for several weeks, and now it turned to go direct. And if you have any questions about any of these technical terms, I'll be happy to give you a free class. Just contact me. Okay, we got Venus turning direct. That was cattle, copper, cotton, oil, sugar, wheat. Then we have, over that weekend, we had Jupiter to the U.S. moon. That's the U.S. chart. Stocks, T-bonds, U.S. dollar. And the moon's north node lined up with Saturn for coffee, oil, and silver. So let's see how it came out. I think the grains were good. Look at that. There's the corn. You're on the high of the month there for corn with the moon. There's the moon. And here's beans. And there's beans. That's not the high of the month, but it was the high of the middle of the month. And you had a chance to make some money there. And if you have any questions about any of these commodities, give me a call and I'll explain those too. There we go. I had 3 points for wheat. We had the moon in Libra, that's wheat. Had Venus, that's wheat. And there was something else too. Oh yeah, and it's just the regular full moon that we would have gotten in wheat for that too. So 3 points for wheat, and you're just a couple of pennies off that high there before it went down, and that was really good on wheat. Sugar, you notice those are green arrows, those are winners. If it's yellow, that's a pass. So you see we're going sideways. I don't do sideways. And also if it's a confusing setup, like where it lands in the middle, we don't know whether it's high or low, that's a pass, okay? So here's coffee, that's a clear miss. Just kept going higher, so that's a red arrow. Here's cocoa, you had a nice short-term top there. And cocoa is a beast. You need deep pockets to trade this market, because every time if it went from 8,000 to 7,000, that would be $10,000. And notice I think it dropped 700 points, and I think that was about $7,000 there. Here's hogs. That was a miss. Again, that would have been a small loss. Here's cattle. Again, the same thing as hogs. That's a small loss. Cotton's going sideways, so we do nothing. There's copper. We had 2 points for copper, and you would have had a small loss there. You can see it went a little bit higher and just went kind of sideways. And metals were not real friendly. We just went sideways on the silver, so that's not good. And then your gold, you did make a little bit of a top there. The bars got squished because of the huge move we had in gold. That's about a $50 drop there. $50 drop used to be good in gold. Crude oil, I think you dropped about $2 there, down to here. So that's $2,000. Best market at all by far was the S&P 500. I have 5 points for that weekend. That means we look to trade it on the next morning's opening. And you can see there, this thing dropped a huge, I think it was a couple hundred handles there or more, and eventually leading into the 21st. I'll be talking more about that in a minute or two. Here's the bonds. That was almost a mirror image of the S&P. As you see that, we have the 4 points there making a low, and then up, up, up. The dollar not so friendly. Those are 2 misses there. And so you add up our green arrows and our red arrows. 20 winners, 9 misses out of 29 for 68.96%. And I'm going to do something I didn't talk about on the last show, but it obviously was huge this week. What happened there on Monday, April 21? Well, I had this in my letter. I'm sorry to say I can't give you everything that's in my letter for the whole month. My subscribers would not be fair to my subscribers to give away everything. So I only give you a little samples, appetizers, bits and pieces. But this was in my letter that at 2:50 one, Mercury, it's a Mercury cycle. Mercury would be what's called maximum elongation west. You could Google it. I can't make this stuff up. I can't change the planets. I can't change the price of these charts here. And it is what it is. You might remember this Eastern time was at 2:55, and you know what happened then. Then we were quickly up 300 handles by the next day. You know, it was a rocket ride. It was unbelievable. And now I think we've gone up or 200 more handles from that low. So if you want to get this kind of timing where you might possibly get big turns within a few minutes, give me a call. Here's what's coming up. Let's get out the old crystal. We have Jupiter lining up with the U.S. chart for stocks, T-bonds, U.S. dollar. And we have a new moon in the sign of Taurus, and the moon will be at perigee. That's about a 14-month cycle. That moon will be at its closest point to the Earth, and at a new moon. And then we'll be looking at financials, grains, precious metals, oil, and because in Taurus the pole, we'll be looking at cattle and cotton. And then Jupiter will be on the night of the 28th. That's Monday. Yeah, that's Monday night. Jupiter will be lining up with the U.S. Mars for stocks, T-bonds, U.S. dollar, and then the night of the 29th, we'll have Jupiter to the U.S. chart again for stocks, T-bonds, U.S. dollar, and then over the weekend of May 2nd, Pluto in the sign of Aquarius will be turning retrograde. And if you've been following me for any period of time, you know this is one of the most powerful points when planets turn retrograde or direct. It's often I always say that when the planets change trend, the markets change trend, and we'll be looking at cocoa, copper, hogs, and T-bonds. And I forgot to remind you that stocks potentially respond to all events. So here, if you don't know me, I'm new to you, I've been doing this 50 years, and there we go. I made enough money while I was in college to buy a membership on the Chicago Board Options Exchange, and I did that for 12 years. I'm always trying to learn, and during that time I studied GAN and Elliott Wave, astrophysical astrology, have a background in music, Fibonacci. I'll teach you advanced Fibonacci math with Lucas numbers and all kinds of neat things. Fractals, I teach you fractals in a 10-15 minute class and so forth. And if you love to learn and want to earn free for the first 5 people who contact me, and I'll give you my contact information on the next page, can get the April letter for free with the money back guarantee. That's a joke. It's all free. And just mention that you heard me on Jeff, and if you send me an email, put in your name, and you can contact me. There's my email address, nwinski@yahoo.com. That's also my Teams or Skype address. Or you can call me here in beautiful Naples, Florida at 239-594-3939. That's 239-594-3939. I have 2 market letters, one for swing trading, one for day trading. And if you want to learn astrology, I have an astrology course too. Looking forward to everybody have a great weekend, and I'm looking forward to helping some of the folks there, Jeff.
Norm, one winning month after the other in a difficult asset class. Absolutely amazing. We'll see you back in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Jeff.